Hello YouTube, MKxJUMP here, and we're back with another account review video. Today we're going to go ahead and look at an account that is free to play, level 120, and they've made a mistake that I see sometimes. It's not a very common mistake, but it's certainly a mistake that if you make it, can potentially slow down your progress massively. So today we're going to go check out this account, highlight that mistake, and also take a look at all the other mistakes they've made and highlight those for you as well. You might think, why do I just do this as a job where I go in and roast people's accounts? It's so that you can learn not to do the mistakes that they make. In fact, the best way to learn is to watch other people fail. Ain't that right, chat? Of course it is. So let's go ahead and see what we've got. You'll see here 3 fantastic heroes. We have MKxJUMP, we have ELOISE, we have Sherlock. Heck, you even decided to build an E1 Rogan. If you were to look at a tier list that ranked all the best non-Transcendence heroes, you would find MKxJUMP, ELOISE, Sherlock, and Rogan somewhere near the top, right? So at face value, it's like, oh man, this guy built some good heroes. But the problem is the synergy between these heroes is a bit weird. The same way you can totally be down for a bit of chocolate, and you can absolutely be interested in a really nice piece of steamed salmon. I don't really want some chocolate on my steamed salmon. So that's what we've kind of got going on here. A mixture of combinations that don't really bode well together. The main problem is this is a void for ELOISE. Anyone that knows anything about Idle Heroes will be able to tell you as soon as you get a void 4 hero, you'll unlock something called the Cloud Island. And the Cloud Island allows you to put in a hero of choice who is void 4 into this building. Then you can add in their tenants, a specific list of heroes that when put in here will offer bonuses for the main hero, ELOISE. And what you've actually got here is an ELOISE who has her house, but no tenants at all. So what you've done is you've managed to play the game long enough that you've got Void 4 imprints, which is 5 million Stellar Shards, but you didn't build the tenants necessary for ELOISE. So something really, really important that I recommend is join our Discord. We actually have a list of all the heroes that you can find here once you unlock a Void 4 hero, and it tells you all the tenants needed. So if you said, for example, I want to go ahead and build Waldeck, you can have a look at his tenants here and decide which hero from each tenant spot you would like on your account. In the case of ELOISE, I always encourage people to go for Carry for tenant spot 4, Ticks for tenant spot 3, and then Ithaca for tenant spot 1, or if you don't really need the broken spaces damage, maybe a Flora, because she's a tenant as well for a Vessa. So there's a potential crossover there. Tenant spot 2 is a bit of a funny one, but you could go for a Jara, but generally most people skip it. Either way, what we have on this account is none of those heroes. So when you get to Void 4, you want to get a massive boost in progress. Unfortunately, we didn't get that because we didn't have the tenants necessary. Now, is MKxJUMP a terrible hero? No, he's actually the best fortress hero you could build in the game. To go and do Seal Land and just be very, very reliable. He's the best pair for Sword Flash in the Seal Land. He's a phenomenal hero in his own right if you don't have a Starwing Jara. Starwing Jara is a Transcendence hero, whereas MKxJUMP isn't, but he also has just a good CC effect. The same way Starwing Jara can lock down opponents, MKxJUMP can do that too, but he turns them into doves, and he's a really, really powerful hero for that reason. He's also very, very fast. So to get the most out of a MKxJUMP, I want to see a Rui Scepter here. We've got one. It's not upgraded, but we've got one. Very nice. So that's a good job. Let's look at this ELOISE. What have we got on her? A Radiant Golden Crown. Really good artifact choice. Great stone, by the way. Attack HP. If you are building an ELOISE, this is what you're looking for. Resonant armor, and you don't necessarily need an upgraded Golden Crown. You could just have a normal Golden Crown. But Radiant is totally fine if that's what you've managed to get. Like if you keep getting given Golden Crowns from bond chests or events, then that's totally cool. But for a lot of people, you'll have mysterious artifact chests. And really, you only want to pull 1 Golden Crown, and then after that, focus on a melodic strings, which hopefully we have here. No, we don't. But we got a Magic Stone Sword. I know where you got this. You must have got that earlier this year. It was given away in an event. That's kind of cool. And attack on Sherlock as well. Okay, that's interesting. But he is only E3, so he's not finished. We want to get him to E5. In fact, I don't think you need Sherlock on this account, to be honest, mate, because Sherlock doesn't offer anything. What's he going to do? You've already done Fortress Seal Land. You do not have a Sword Flash for him to be a tenant for. And in fact, you don't want to build a Sword Flash. You've got an Eloise. Why would you want a hero that's going to compete with Eloise? So what I would recommend you do is get rid of this Sherlock and use all the food you would get from regressing him to build someone else. That someone else can hopefully be ideally a Tix if you've got one. Oh no, you've got no Tix copies. Okay, what about Carrie? You've got one? Oh, you've got no copies. Right, we need to go ahead and get some chests. No, where are your chests? Bro, Sfaff, what happened? And you originally used them as a tenant for Holmes? Oh, so Holmes was your first E5. Oh, wow. I did not expect that to come out. Holy smokes. So, yeah, wild. And then the E1 Rogan, really unusual pick. For example, you've got a Sherlock copy here. Do we have another one in the bag? No, but if we did, you'd be able to E5 Sherlock straight away, but you can't because you've put all your forest food and all your other hero food, the 9 stars necessary to build a Rogan, into making him E1, which is a little unfortunate. Oh dear. So yeah, is an E1 Rogan bad? It's not really necessary because the thing that makes Rogan really good is this final passive here. He gets it at 9 star, so you could have just kept him at 9 star to buff your team, and that would have been fine. On the topic of 9 stars, you do have a 9 star Holmes Young. This confuses me. I don't know why you built him. Maybe you were going for like a Holmes Young meme account and you wanted Holmes Young Sherlock and then an E5 Holmes Young. I'm not too sure, but I can promise you this, a 9 star Holmes Young isn't really going to do much. Yes, he'll occasionally dub someone, but he's probably just going to die. 7 star Drake, this is actually okay. I think you had another Drake copy somewhere. Ah, no, you didn't. Oh, no. So why did you start building a Drake if you didn't have the copies? That's a really weird decision because normally I like to build Dark Heroes when I have the 3 copies needed if I want to make them to 9 star, or in Carrie's case, the 5 copies to make it to at least 10 star. Because when you get a 10 star Carrie, you get the Glory Challenge bonus, which will then get you 6 star dummies, which you can then use to go ahead and build more Dark Heroes, like a 9 star Drake. So that's a little unfortunate. The Heart Watcher, again, she's 7 star. Again, I don't know why you're randomly 7 starring heroes, dude. Like, leave them at 6, and I guess, you know, if you do want to build them, it does compress food to save bag space, but if you start doing this too much, it's a bit of an issue. But then again, Drake and Heartwatcher are excellent heroes, so it is not the end of the world, because Drake and Heartwatcher will be necessary for broken spaces, and that's going to be something that this account is going to want to do, the same as any account. But an early account really benefits from Drake's defense down and Heartwatcher's Watcher marks because they improve the damage the opponent takes who is marked by this, so that's all good. 6 star Belrain, don't know why you built her. I guess it was to compress food again, but I'd rather just build 6 star Defined Spirits if you're looking to compress food. So this I find unusual. And then 9 star Ignis, really, really good. So there's a 9 star we can talk about. You've got control immunity that comes in when she dies. That's going to help Eloise. I've talked about it all the time. If you don't already know, a control immune Eloise, super duper strong. And then this Starlight here is totally going to be food. So overall, some weird hero decisions, some strange building wide, but ultimately, you don't have the Sherlock copies to make him E5. You don't really have the Rogan copies to take him to E5 either, so it's wonky, but it works. You don't need either of these heroes, though, and that's your main issue. You've gone ahead and built heroes that aren't going to benefit you if you follow the classic, traditional way of building, and therefore, the big mistake you've made, as I said right at the beginning, is you haven't built tenants for Eloise, and she is your main hero. The big thing with Eloise is she will stand alone be brilliant, and all the things she's weak at, Tix and Carrie help her out with. When she loses to Garudas in the Void Vortex, you can silence them with Tix, or you can steal their energy with Carrie, and it's a huge way to play. It's so beneficial for the account if you run those heroes, not to mention they will be tenants, so you can put them in and give her a little bit of added bonuses. So it's nice. She's a very, very solid hero, and you want to focus on her tenants rather than building heroes that you just think happen to be good. Other 9 stars to focus on, if you get the copies at some point, a Waldeck, but I don't see any copies here. And generally, you're quite starved on 5 stars, so just be mindful. Saving up will be beneficial for you in the long term. Just build some food, and when you finally can build someone to E5, go ahead and do it. So, some things that Svafnir's asked me about directly is, first of all, if he was to build a Transcendence hero, who should it be? He's thinking about going with Lord of Fear Aspen. I see that you have several Aspen copies. That's an interesting choice. Lord of Fear Aspen gives the ability to horrify, And you could take this account in a direction that we haven't really discussed, which is to go with Lord of Fear Aspen to support the Eloise, keep her being strong and let her do crazy things. And then when Lord of Fear Aspen is built, he can go ahead and horrify opponents, steal their energy. He's a really, really good hero. We already do want to build Carrie and Drake at some point, so that's actually going to benefit you. But what I would do if I was you and you do want to build Lord of Fear Aspen is build him as your first Transcendence hero, yes, but then aim towards building Sword Flash, because Lord of Fear Aspen plus Sword Flash is a really nice combo. Remember how we talked about tenants? If you go into the Cloud Island and take a look at the tenants necessary for Sword Flash, you'll see that Lord of Fear Aspen actually takes up slot number 2. So if you went Lord of Fear Aspen first, I would actually keep Eloise as a homeowner. I wouldn't actually move away and try and make Lord of Fear Aspen do everything. I would let Eloise do all the damage and just have Lord of Fear Aspen adding in there to benefit. And then, when you get to a second Transcendence hero, build yourself a Sword Flash and then make her the main homeowner. Hopefully, in the time it takes you to get 2 Transcendence heroes, you can build the Rogans, the Drake, and all the other necessary heroes needed, like her tenants, to allow a Sword Flash to perform well. Also, for a Sword Flash, you are going to need 8 Demon Bells and a Melodic Strings to perform well, so bear in mind it's not super duper easy, and Lord of Fear Aspen would really appreciate a Rui Scepter, which you already do have one of, but that would be a much later down the line artifact to think about building. On top of that, Augustus Magic Ball is also really good, so we've talked about tons of artifacts there, and I would still say to you, though, the recommendation is, at this point, probably finish the Golden Crown, and then go ahead and get yourself Melodic Strings. Get that done, and then worry about what else you're going to need moving forwards. It's probably going to be Demon Bells, because normally people go for Augustus Magic Ball, but you will have a splendid crown, and that's a really good defensive artifact, so I wouldn't waste time going for an Augustus Magic Ball then. I would crack on with 8 Demon Bells. Rui Scepter is also a really good shout, though, so bear in mind that could slightly change, and you want to go Rui Scepter first. Depends on which one you think is more of a priority. You have asked about doing Death 100 as well. Now, looking at your heroes, I don't see someone that can do Death 100 as an obvious hero. I have very limited experience with MKxJUMP. I have heard he does well in Aspen Dungeon, but I'm not sure he's able to go ahead and clear Aspen Dungeon. He might be able to. You're going to have to try it out yourself. You're going to have to imprint him, obviously work out there. He said he dies to Amun-Ra. Yes, Healing Curse is nasty. You will need to use a Demon Potion, and he will need to turn that Amun-Ra into a dove and kill her before the fight is up, right? So, yeah, you might find he's not good enough. If you do face Amun-Ra's, that's what he's going to need to do. And he can 100% clear Death 100 at Void 4. There you go. Maybe if Aspen Dungeon is what you want to do, you actually need to take off the imprints on the Eloise, stick him into MKxJUMP and see what you can do with him there. Is Aspen Dungeon open right now? No, it's closed, but it opens for you in an hour. So you can do it. Takes crown and time. Okay, so you have a golden crown. You can go put the crown on him, which is great. He doesn't have resonance armor, but maybe you can get him some like class armor. That'd be nice. And you did Death 100 with Eloise pretty easily. Yeah, did you have AMB though? I know a lot of people do it with an AMB Eloise. You do lose to Oberon. That's one big weakness for Eloise. She gets wrecked by Oberons. Also, we don't have the tenants for Eloise, so she's not necessarily going to be as strong as some of your Eloises would be. Do bear that in mind. So, yeah, it's not great. And you did it with a crown? Yeah, because there are loads of different ways of doing it now. Like, Death 100 isn't the hardest thing in the world. You've just got to be careful. Now, it is a matter of luck. That's the big thing. Loads of people ask about Aspen Dungeon all the time. There are many ways to do Death 100. Tix is a reliable way. We've just mentioned MKxJUMP can actually do it as a Void 4 hero with a crown. Peoples do it with Eloises as well. Every hero has their weakness. You can't just mindlessly walk into Aspen Dungeon and try and skip battle every single time. Certain fights will beat certain heroes. For example, Eloise loses to Oberons. She has a really tough time there. We've already mentioned MKxJUMP has a hard time against Amun-Ra. Tix will lose to opponents if you don't Demon Potion the right heroes. You have to put a Demon Potion on him to go ahead and do an active skill against nasty waves with 4 heroes. So things like double Oberon, double Valkyrie, or 4 Oberons, or 4 Adas. And of course, things are going to be different for you if you've got different star spawns to someone else maybe who did this, or you've got different artifacts. Everything is different for everybody. So if you are going to go ahead and try this with a MKxJUMP, yes, exactly like Kepler said, we're going to need class armor for him. Attack HP, he'll probably be fine with a golden crown. I think he'll be okay. So that should be pretty good. That'll give him a lot of defensiveness. And hopefully you can just walk in there with him, use the Sherlock as a tenant. That's totally cool. And see if he can get it done. I imagine MKxJUMP is your ticket here. I really do. So let me know how that goes. Good luck to you, man. I think that's pretty good. Now, any other final questions? We've talked about Lord of Fear Aspen. We've talked about Aspen Dungeon. Obviously, you've got 3 options there. And Tix was my main one, but you don't even have him. So I think we'll try it with MKxJUMP. Let's go look at your galactic tree. Let's look at your star spawns. Okay, so you've opened 2 somber eggs up and got heroes from them. We've got ourselves the Spirit of Transcendence, level 30. Very nice. And we've got the Dark One, which ain't that great, but you don't have any others, so this is totally okay. So yeah, those 2 are fine. I would go ahead and upgrade this one if you can. You are just going to be stuck on what you can get as materials, but eventually you should be able to get this guy up once you get enough of these blue things. I'm pretty sure when we looked at your bag, have you got a lot of these things saved up? Yeah, you actually can go and push him up pretty quick once you've managed to get your star spawn cores that are the blue ones. So that's good. We look at your scrolls. That's a decent amount for holiday season. Arguably, you know, 1,000 would be way better, but 364 is... You're getting there. I think you should be able to have a good pile by Christmas. That's nice. And yeah, 1.2 million stellar shards. You have so many stellar shards and very few crystals of transcendence. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just surprising that you've got so many stellars. I guess you've been pretty lucky with cores. So yeah, nice job getting all those stellar shards. Really, really cool. And yeah, you could go ahead and use those to literally imprint someone else to Void 2. You could if you wanted. You just need the 10-star food. Oh, man! But because you've built wide... Oh, I bet you he's got the 2 Starlight copies as well. Oh, no, we've got 1 here. Oh, bro. But still, if you had another Starlight... it's always a pain when I see this, right? You could have built the 10 stars to get the imprints. That's tough. That's tough. So yeah, always be mindful, dude. You got those stellar shards sitting around. It's bad not to use them. It really is. But hey, you know, sometimes you got to hoard those things up. But you do have the star spawn materials and profit orbs. I imagine you've been using them pretty aggressively. Yeah, there's not a single profit orb in sight. So yeah, I guess you've been using them during the profit orb event. And look at all this. We've got Celestial Island materials just saved up. And, oh, man, this is why we have to have tenants, because as soon as you do, that's a ton of progress. We've even got 72 Master's Toolboxes, so there's some progress to be made there. So, yeah, just be mindful of those things, tenants, and the progress that can be made by using them. Artifacts aren't the best, but, you know, we've got ourselves that Radiant Crown. And, of course, the Ruby Scepter, which is pretty good. And the Magic Stone Sword in there for good measure. But everything else is just magic sources. But yeah, good luck to you, man. I'm glad this account is going okay. You've just kind of made a few mistakes that have halted your ELOISE's progress. And good luck with Aspen Dungeon. Now, one final thing. You did say you wanted to go with Lord of Fear Aspen as your first Transcendence hero. And even though that as a path is totally fine, if we then go for Sword Flash next, and you get all the artifacts and stuff, and all the tenants, and the, you know, the E5 Ignis, the 2 Rogans, all the stuff needed to make the account pop when you have 2 Transcendence heroes. You might find you can't do that. I would rather a Fairy Queen Vesa. She's a really good hero, very reliable, and you don't have to make her a homeowner. You can still focus on ELOISE, and she'll support you. So if you think the direction of going with Aspen, and then in the time it takes you to then get the Sword Flash, you won't be able to accumulate all the necessary stuff, going the Fairy Queen Vesa first is a very safe pick. She's a very reliable hero that will buff your team, and then later down the line, once you've got multiple Transcendence heroes, she can eventually become your main hero. That said, if you go Lord of Fear Aspen first, build the Sword Flash, you will eventually still build the Fairy Queen Vesa. It will probably just be, though, instead as your 3rd Transcendence hero rather than your first one. And then you'll have Sword Flash, Aspen, and then the Vesa, which can do Vanquisher rather comfortably if you have the right artifacts and enough Celestial Island bonuses from your tenants. So there's 2 options for you on where to take the account in the future. It will be artifact dependent, it will depend on hero copies, and it will depend on food. And it's nice to talk about this kind of thing because normally we do just say, hey, build Fairy Queen Vesa. But don't forget, there are other strategies out there. Lord of Fear Aspen into a Sword Flash is a perfectly fine strategy. It's not necessarily the best, but it is a fine way to play, and it's not going to hurt your progress all that much as long as you keep focusing on the ELOISE and doing the right things to benefit her. Hopefully this was useful, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for tuning in, and if you have any more questions, Sfaf, or if you in the community have any questions, drop them in the comments section down below, and thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, and of course, happy idling.